Is the fight against government waste a new idea, or a forgotten one? In a viral House Oversight hearing from February 2025, Representative Eric Burlison delivered a stinging reminder to his colleagues across the aisle. As the national debt nears a staggering $37 trillion, Burlison played a blast from the past video featuring Presidents Clinton and Obama, both of whom once championed the exact same cuts and streamlining now being proposed by DOGE. We're breaking down the full script and the 2026 reality of these massive federal reforms.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to speak frankly at first to the American people. We're nearing $37 trillion in national debt. What does that mean? That means that each and every U.S. taxpayer owes over $323,000. Okay? What does that mean? That means when the EPIC, which is the Economic Policy Innovation Center, says we have 18 trillion left. That's it. 18 trillion left to take out, and we're spending $2 trillion in debt every year. Folks, we're at the precipice of a debt, like a debt cycle. We are literally at a point in which the dollar will be worth nothing. What does that mean? And we know Social Security goes bankrupt in 8 years, right? Medicare goes bankrupt in 10 years. And then 15 years from now, the dollar is completely devalued and worth nothing. So what does that mean? That means your pension, the money in your bank, your savings is nothing. It's worthless. So what are we doing? We're trying to save this country. We're trying to save your pensions. We're trying to save your bank accounts. We're trying to save this country for the next generation, and it would be nice if we had help. But instead, we have people that are fighting us on this. And I think that I would hate to be in the Democratic Party right now because you're in a really bad bind. You're having to defend all of this crazy spending, all of this crazy waste. So how do you do it? You do ad hominem attacks. You attack the messenger. Oh, Elon Musk, right? He's rich. He must be evil, right? That's the attacks. Really? You can't do any better than that, right? Let's talk on the policy. Help us. We're trying to save this country. This is and Elon Musk, who's making no money doing this, is trying to save this country. Why? Because he has invested in the United States of America more than anybody, right? So I think that we should embrace it. In fact, not a single company, governor of any state would ever turn down Elon Musk and his team of DOGE from coming in and providing free services to right the course and financially in any state or organization. It's ridiculous that we would demonize someone that loves this country so much. Mr. Whitman, the formation of agencies via the executive action is not new, right? The formation of DOGE is not new. Can you, are you familiar with any other previous presidencies where they've formed organizations like DOGE via executive action?
Yeah, so actually the agency that DOGE is occupying is one that was created in a previous administration. So it is something that happens routinely. But I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, there's been the Office of Budget Management was created, Environmental Protection Agency was created, the U.S. Digital Service, which is now DOGE, was created all by executive order, right?
And actually one other I'd add is USAID was originally created through an executive order by President Kennedy and then later formalized. And
then, Madam Chair, I have a video I would like to end with that just, let's review, if we could cue that, to remind, and I want to remind my Democratic friends, at a point in which you once had the majority of the American people on your side, this is what your party believed in.
This report tells us how to cut waste, cut red tape, streamline the bureaucracy, change procurement rules, change the personnel rules, and create a government that works better and costs less.
I've read it, and where it says the president should, the president will.
Among the 800 recommendations, eliminating 12% of the federal workforce, merging some government agencies like the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, closing hundreds of government offices outside Washington.
From the day I took office, One of the commitments that I made to the American people was that we would do a better job here in Washington in rooting out wasteful spending. We thought that it was entirely appropriate for our governments and our agencies to try to root out waste, large and small, in a systematic way. It means cutting some programs that I think are worthy, but we may not be able to afford right now. A lot of the action is in Congress and legislative, but in the meantime, we don't need to wait for Congress in order to do something about wasteful spending that's out there. We haven't seen as much action out of Congress as we'd like, and that's why we launched on our own initiative the campaign to cut waste. And we're going to keep on finding every possible way that we can do that, even if Congress is not acting. There you go.
I think it speaks for itself. My time has expired.
The House Oversight Committee's Subcommittee on Delivering on Government Efficiency, DOGE, held its inaugural hearing on February 14, 2025, setting the stage for a year of unprecedented federal restructuring. Representative Eric Burlison opened with a brutally honest assessment of the American economy, warning that with $37 trillion in debt and a $2 trillion annual deficit, the US dollar is on the precipice of total devaluation. Burlison's argument was focused on preservation, saving pensions, Social Security, and bank accounts from a looming debt cycle. He criticized the ad hominem attacks directed at reformers like Elon Musk, arguing that the demonization of those trying to right the course of the country is a distraction from the dire fiscal policy at hand. To bridge the partisan divide, Burlison employed a brilliant rhetorical device. He used the Democrats' own history against them. He played a video montage featuring President Bill Clinton's 1993 National Performance Review, which recommended eliminating 12% of the federal workforce and merging agencies like the FBI and DEA. He followed this with a clip of President Barack Obama's campaign to cut waste, where the former president insisted that the government doesn't need to wait for Congress to root out wasteful spending. By highlighting that these DOGE-style reforms were once standard Democratic policy, Burlison exposed what he characterized as a modern abandonment of fiscal responsibility. As we look back from March 29, 2026, the context of this hearing has become even more significant. Over the past year, the Trump administration's war on waste has led to the departure of over 260,000 federal workers and the official closure of agencies like USAID in July 2025. While the White House claims these moves have saved approximately $215 billion, the process has been defined by whiplash, with thousands of essential workers being fired and then rehired as agencies struggled to maintain core functions. Burlison's 2025 defense of executive action as nothing new, citing the creation of the EPA and OMB, provided the legal framework for the mass layoffs and rescissions that dominated the headlines throughout late 2025 and early 2026. Ultimately, this hearing marks the moment where the 2026 efficiency mandate was first codified in Congress. Burlison's warning that the dollar will be worth nothing remains the rallying cry for the ongoing 2026 budget battles. Whether these cuts have truly saved the ship as Burlison intended or merely undermined technical capacity, as critics currently argue, this video remains the primary evidence of the ideological shift that redefined the American bureaucracy in the mid-2020s.